Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I have been out of town for the past 2 weekends and have not had a lot of time to just hang out and chill and read. And so this weekend is my first real weekend to do that. And so I decided that I would pull some different books off of my shelf, a few that I've been hesitant about and some new books I've picked up, and do another round of the try a chapter tag. I am gonna read a chapter of each of these over this weekend. I'll report back, let you know my feelings on them, and then pick one of these books, maybe more of them, to read throughout the rest of the month. I am finishing up The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet this weekend, and then also starting June by Miranda Beverly Whitmore with Olive from a Book Olive. So those two books I will be reading this month, definitely. But I have 5 books here that I want to try and see how I feel about them. So the first one is The Maker of Swans by Patrick O'Donnell, and I do not know. See, here's the thing. I don't know a whole lot about most of these, so I'm not going to be able to really give you a description. But this one is something about a man who lives on a secluded estate where I think some weird things happen. It sounded like it might be a little bit magical realism or fantasy. And I remember when, I think it was Tanya from List Obsessed Reader talked about this, I got really excited about it. Somebody else talked about it before her, because I've definitely had this book on my radar for like a year now, and I finally picked it up from Book Depository because it still doesn't seem to be available in the US. So this one is one that I wanted to read and see how I feel about it. The next 2 books came from Book Bath boxes, and so I am trying to read all of the books that I've received in subscription boxes this year so that I don't feel so guilty about continuing to buy subscription boxes. This one, which by the way still smells like the bath product, and that makes me happy, is Behind the Throne by K.B. Wagers. And again, I don't remember what this is about. It is sci-fi, I know that. And oh yes, this is the one where she is dragged back to her home planet to take her place as heir to the throne, and it sounded really interesting. I just have not picked it up, and I have actually been on quite a sci-fi kick lately, which is not very common for me. So this one might be something that I'm very into right now. The other book from Book Bath Box is Midnight Never Come by Marie Brennan. I know that this one is set in, I think, Victorian England, and it has to do with fairies and London and the society, like the court that is the fairy court that's under London, in the London Underground or something like that. I don't know, I'm butchering these things. I'll find out when I try a chapter. But yes, so that one also is on my list. And then I have one each from my most recent hauls. This one is The Art of Hearing Heartbeats, and this one is about a daughter who starts looking into her father's past and learns about this woman that he was dating or loved, had a relationship with in Myanmar or Burma. And this one just sounded really fascinating, and I love books that have Asia as a setting, so yes. And then the last one is Sea Change, which is the book I got in my blind date with the book from Malaprops, and this one intimidates me a little bit. It sounds so weird. I will link that video up here where I actually read the summary on the back. But basically it's about a girl who befriends a kraken, and then her quest to save said kraken, and it involves witches and bandits and all sorts of things. So this one sounded really weird and fascinating, so I wanted to try it out soon after getting it so that I didn't just keep feeling intimidated by it and then never read it, because it does sound like it's going to be interesting. So yes, these are the 4 that I am going to try a chapter from, and I will check back with you to let you know what I think. So I have read the first chapter of the Maker of Swans, and it was intense. In the first chapter, somebody is dead. There was a murder. I don't really know much about the setting so much, or really the people. We had someone who sounded like he might be a butler or a groundskeeper or something, who is witness to the master of the house and an altercation between him and a man over a woman who sounds like she may be a young girl, and then there's a murder, and then that's the end of the chapter. So I don't really know what's going on. It was very interesting, and it read really fast, and I liked the writing style, so this one's definitely still a candidate. And I read actually the first 2 chapters in this one. The first chapter was only 7 pages, and the font's pretty big, so I didn't feel like I'd gotten quite enough to really know whether I was into this one. Basically, what happened in the first 2 chapters is that she has arrived in Myanmar, and she's in a tea house, and a man comes up to her and starts talking to her and telling her that he's been waiting for her to arrive, he's been watching for her, and calls her by name, but she doesn't know who he is, and he starts talking about her father, and then we go to her kind of contemplating this in her hotel room, and find out that, I forget how many years ago, but basically her father just up and left his family, and there's no trace of him. And so that's really all we have. I know from the back that this is about her trying to find out more about her father, and it kind of alludes to him having a double life. So yeah, so far very interesting, quick read, and I like the pacing as well as the writing, so I am still interested in this one as well. This seems like I may be reading several of these this month. So now it's Sunday, and I did read a chapter, actually a prologue, and then something that wasn't really a chapter, and then a chapter. So about, I think, 25 pages in this. Midnight Never Come by Marie Brennan. I'm sort of confused about what's going on. The Queen of England was saved from a tower by a fairy who she made a pact with. And then we switched to somebody who it sounds like is in the lower court where the fairies are, who's talking to himself and sounds like he might be crazy. And then we meet a boy who is basically trying to become a new courtier to Elizabeth's court, and so it's like years in the future, I'm guessing. And that's where it stops. The first chapter ends. So a lot of different perspectives. I'm not really sure how they all fit together yet. I'm intrigued. This probably is not going to be the one I carry on with right away, but I am intrigued. So given the sci-fi kick that I have been on lately, this is really appealing to me right now. So the first chapter was action-packed and also full of questions that will, I'm sure, get answered as we go down through the rest of the book. But basically we are following Hale as her ship has been attacked, and she has been tracked by somebody from the Empire that she is basically a princess of, and finds out that she is the heir to the Empire. This is all in the back of the book, but it unfolds in the first chapter. And she is foul-mouthed and strong-willed, and sounds like there is such a backstory there. It reminds me a whole lot of the protagonist in the Paradox trilogy, so I'm really intrigued by this. And this is not like anything else I'm reading right now. I may look up and see if I can find the audiobook for this, because I bet it would be really good. But right now, this is the front runner for which one I'm going to read when I finish this try chapter tag. So I'm actually going to forgo trying a chapter of this only because it doesn't actually have chapters, and I kept looking and couldn't really find anywhere that was like a good break to call like the first chapter. I probably should have checked that before I picked this one out, but yeah, I'm going to actually forego this and just stick to the 4 that I have already read chapters of. And while I really enjoyed the first chapter of all of them, I am pretty sure I know which one I'm going to go with. Basically, in the order of interest, I'm least interested in continuing this one right now. Then probably this one would be, well, it's a tie between these two for next interest. I'm reading something that's sort of along the same lines as this, as far as being kind of like a dual perspective story where we're finding out about something that has gone on in the ancestor or like the parent of a character's life. So this one I'm interested in, and I'm really interested in as far as reading it, but because it's so similar to June as far as kind of how the story is going to unfold, I think I'm going to pass on this one for now. This one I was very interested in and definitely sounds intriguing, but ultimately I'm just in a sci-fi kick, so this is going to be the one that I pick up next. I may read it along with June, I may not. I am buddy reading June with Olive, so I want to focus on that book this week, but if I decide that I want to read something else, then this is probably what I'm going to go with, but definitely this will be the one I pick up after I finish reading June. So I really enjoy the try a chapter tag. It's fun to get to kind of pick out a TBR and then read part of them, and I feel like I learned so much about the writing style for one, and kind of the pacing and everything for a book when I read the first chapter. So it's a good way to get a feel for a book off of my TBR and whether I really do want to read it right then before I actually commit. So definitely enjoy doing that, and I will do that in the future. I need to accumulate enough short story collections. I may have enough now to try a story tag, because I know that that was something people were doing not too long ago, and I love short stories, so I want to do that as well. But I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Tell me in the comments if you've read any of these books, and if you have, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Bye!